Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Man, what a fight, man. What a fight. What a fight. You know, the UFC, it's been something that over the years, it's been like a slow burner for me. It's like, you know, boxing's always been my number one sport, and obviously, you know, my number one fight sport. And there was a time with UFC when, you know, I was like a boxing snob about UFC. I was like, I don't want to see these dudes in spandexes rolling around on the ground, hugging each other and all this kind of shit. Like, you know, that's how I used to feel about the UFC. But in the last few years, man, it's just come on like the quality, the level of fighters here. Do you know what I mean? Like, the quality's just stepped up so much. Like, I'll be honest. Especially when it comes to women fighting, I prefer the UFC. Like, when it comes to women fighting, I would watch like a woman's UFC bout like I would watch a man's UFC bout, like any bout. And you know, maybe this sounds a little bit, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to try and come across as sexist. I'm just saying it's, you know, how I prefer to watch my sports and that. If I watch boxing, like, I will watch men's boxing like it's men's boxing, you know, like it's boxing, sorry. And women's boxing, I'm like, okay, it's a women's fight. Yeah, it's women fighting. But men's boxing is just boxing, but women's boxing is women's boxing. But when it comes to UFC, the men's fighting or the women fighting, to me, it's just a fight. Like, because the skill level is just like so high here. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you see some of these females, like the way how they grapple, the way some of them have got hands and that, and there's so many different aspects of the sport. Yeah, it's like you know what I mean? I absolutely love women's UFC over women's boxing. You know, but anyway, getting back to the point, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, man, this fight was high level. This fight was a high level fight. And it's like, you know, Gilbert Burns, he came out, he looked very dynamic. He was very quick. He was very strong. He was very explosive. And, you know, certain times, you know, it looked like he was gonna ragdoll Usman. Like, he just seemed way quicker than Usman. He seemed way quicker than him. But Usman, he showed the mindset of a champion. He just stayed patient. He knew what he was supposed to do. Every time Gilbert, you know, hit him with like some crazy haymaker, Usman just went straight back to his game plan, which was walking forward and pumping the jab. Yeah, he just kept on coming forward and pumping the jab. That's all he kept on doing. Yeah, Gilbert was just hitting him with some hellacious shots. Hellacious. Like, if he had hit anyone else with those shots who never had the mindset and the belief of Kamaru Usman, he might have knocked that person out in the first round, I'll be honest. But Usman, he just would not be denied. And he just kept on pumping out the jab. He kept on pumping out the jab, kept on pumping out the jab. And then from like round 2, I think it was, I wouldn't say Gilbert slowed down, but it was just more of what Usman was doing began to work here. Do you know what I mean? It began to work, the jab. You know, Burns had to start thinking about the jab. And it's so funny because Burns got dropped twice by a jab. That's how consistent Kamaru Usman's jab was. You know, he actually dropped Burns with the jab. Yeah, do you know what I mean? He dropped it with the jab, and Burns was so explosive. I don't know if that kind of, you know, burnt him out a little bit. Forgive the pun. Burns burnt out, but yeah. But yeah. Dropped him with the jab. Kate, you know, stand on top of him, ground and pound, and that was all she wrote. Usman was the champion and Burns was crying. And, you know, I don't want to take anything away from Burns for crying and stuff. That was a joke. You know, it was a high octane fight. There was a lot of passion involved, and you can see Burns, he really wanted it. He really wanted to win that title, and that's where his, you know, the tears and all of that came from, because of his passion. Yeah, but Usman was also very emotional as well. because he just was not going to be denied. He was not going to be denied. As far as he's concerned, he's the champion. No one's taking it off of him. And Burns was a serious threat. I was not sure if Kamaru Usman could win this fight. You know, he proved me wrong. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And he done it in great fashion. He done it in good style. And yeah, more credit to him, man. Long live the African Nightmare.
And this is the TBK podcast.